You may remember the president of the Harlem Children's Zone Charter School from the 2010 documentary Waiting for Superman. If not, take a look at Jeff Canada.
Either the kids are getting stupider every year, or something is wrong in the education system.
That documentary analyzed the failures of the American public education system. Some of those failures will be major issues in the 2016 campaign. Most Republican candidates have been speaking out against the Common Core education standards and in favor of more charter schools. So let's take a look at some of these issues with the one and only Jeffrey Canada. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Beth.
You left the Harlem Children's Zone a year ago.
Yep.
So you've sort of have time to now take a step back. Where do you think we are in terms of the American public school system today?
This is really troubling. I have seen this sense that Common Core is now bad, setting standards that everybody has to now say, these are the minimum standards. People are backing away from this, and my Republican friends are backing away from this. I have enough problems with my Democratic friends, with the unions trying to determine and run education, so I'm getting it on both sides. In the end, no one's going to like me because it's a disaster for America.
How on earth did educational reformers snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory?
It is something that I will tell you, for me, and I have really been on this issue, as you all know, for quite some time. This is something that we can't let up on. I have said to people, there's this longing for the good old days, right? Let's go back to the days where everybody could set their own standards. We could make every kid pass, even if they can't read and write.
Good old days by whose standards?
Well,
the teachers' unions?
Yes. These are the teachers' unions and the folks who are trying to get away from national standards, where we're setting benchmarks that determine what it really means to have a quality education in this country. And I think that we've got to take all of this stuff on, and I'm telling you, we've got an uphill battle.
Is it just the teachers, though, Jeff? What about the parents? Clearly, parents play an important role in public education, and there are, well, we see them, right, quoted in these bleeding heart stories. My son couldn't pass the tests. He spent this many hours. It's not that I'm not sympathetic to the troubles that families have, clearly. But if the country doesn't set a high standard, or if municipalities or states don't set a high standard and follow through, these poor kids are going to get left behind. Or not to borrow a phrase from 2001, but they will they not?
Yeah, well, they are, but let me tell you, this is a little bit more insidious than this, and for this reason. And this is what I said to President Obama and Secretary Duncan. Common Core is not going to be turned back by poor parents in Harlem and in Brooklyn. It's going to be parents in Long Island, parents in Westchester who don't want to admit their schools are also struggling and having trouble. And so part of this debate has been focused on just this tiny slice of the American population, and it's a much bigger debate than that.
But Jeff, why wouldn't people want to admit that? Don't they want their children to have the best education possible so they can go on to lead successful lives? Why lie to yourself?
We haven't been honest with parents, and the unions have the ability to communicate with parents every single day. And they're telling them, this stuff is bad, your kid is stressed out, these tests don't matter, they don't mean anything. And parents are sitting there saying, well, let me get this straight. You're telling me if I don't take the test, my kid is actually going to do better? And they're saying yes. And we're not pushing back. I mean, outside of Governor Cuomo, we have not seen people push back against something that's blatantly false.
Are unions stronger today than ever?
I think they feel like they've got some wins, and this is a real challenge, because this other thing that's going on is they've masterfully crafted a new dialogue, which is rich hedge fund folks are out to privatize education, and they're the ones yelling for education reform, and real people who are sympathetic to poor folks don't care about this.
That's how they stole the narrative back?
Yes.
Because in that movie, a clip of which we played at the outset, you know, the teachers' unions were effectively public enemy number one.
They came up with a brilliant counter, which is that we were anti-teacher. And they have sold this over and over again. Those people don't like teachers. That's why they're saying we should get rid of lousy teachers. And you know what? We were not organized enough to counter that narrative, and now that's part of the narrative that has to do with Waiting for Superman, and it also has to do with education reform in general.
But is education reform, this movement, is it losing steam? Is it going to get the attention it needs in the presidential campaign?
Well, if I have my way,
Listen, we know what you want.
But wait, some of these folks are my friends. on both sides of the aisle. Right? So Chris Christie, I consider him a friend, and I am going to be out in Salt Lake City talking with Republicans about this, and I'm going to bring this thing to task.
Okay, I know that you are, but I'm asking you, do they want you there? Are you?
No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't.
Why?
Look, people don't want to hear the bad news. This is bad news. This bad news says it's not just these poor kids in Harlem. It's your kids also that are in trouble. And folks are saying, you know what? I don't want to hear that. I want to go back to this belief that everything's going to be fine. And I think that is really dangerous in this country. And to that extent, we've been outmaneuvered, right? And I think, but it doesn't mean to me that this is going to continue. We're going to fight back. There are a group of us saying right now, we can't lose this battle. The country is at stake.
Jeff Canada is being